Hey there guys, we're taking a look at Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies running on the i5-1135G7. Now this is currently actually running at 1080p and the game settings are pretty much set to what the game defaulted to. The only things that I adjusted was like turning off VSync and setting the FPS refresh rate to 120. Everything else was just set to what the game said was like what it wanted to run at. And for the most part, it was decent enough. Early on, the 1% lows looked good, but as we progress around the map, the 1% lows do start to take a noticeable hit, dropping down into the 20s and sometimes into the teens. And this really seems to happen in every map as you start to open up the areas and get more places loaded in. It just starts to cause the 1% lows to take huge hits, and there's no real alleviating that, unfortunately. Whether you drop down to 720p or do it at 1080p, set all the settings to the absolute lowest possible or not, it didn't really affect that in the sense that those 1% lows still ended up being pretty brutal. Again, they look perfectly fine right here, but this is the early game. Let me show you what they look like later on. Once we start to get to the center of the map area over here, really just using this shotgun would end up actually causing huge performance losses, just because every time it would hit the enemy, it would cause like impact effects that were just too much for the game to render, I guess. And so it would just it would end up causing huge performance issues, you know. 1% lows would just go all over the place, and so would the frame times. It was just a brutal experience for a little bit there, but it was very inconsistent in that, again, you would have the moments where the averages would go up. I mean, right now we're at 78. You know, that's really, really good. But if those 1% lows weren't as low as they were, this would feel like a super smooth experience. But 720p does not really alleviate this problem. As you can see right here, we are running around in 720p with the exact same settings, and we're getting averages that are actually reaching the game's engine limit. The Call of Duty engine that this is running on, it was actually limited to just 90 FPS max. You can actually download mods that will, you know, let you unlock that, but I normally don't even bother with those. But yeah, we're pretty much like limited here, and you can even tell because the GPU itself is actually not even fully utilized because it's giving 90 FPS without even having to use all of its power. So I'd say both 720p and 1080p are relatively similar in the sense that you are going to get a pretty consistently high average, except you're going to run into 1% low problem, and that's going to be the biggest Achilles heel here. I would say personally I could get away with playing like this. This doesn't bother me enough to say, oh, this is unplayable, but it is less smooth than I would have liked it to be, just going off of those averages. Like, if I did not have the 1% low counter on and you saw those averages, you'd think, wow, 90% or 90 FPS average in this game, it must run absolutely amazing, and that would be very, very misleading. Just looking at this section here, again, looking at the averages there, is that 90 FPS average really representative of what's going on here? It's not. You need to look at the 1% lows. The 1% lows are what tells you how the game is actually going to play. And while I'm disappointed how this game actually ended up running on here, I am happy that it is such a clear and perfect example of why you need to look at the extra information. You can't just base this stuff off of averages. You will see a lot of people that will only ever give you averages for games, and that is not representative of the whole story. So anyways, I hope you found this useful and informative. If you did, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.